Hi, thanks for spending a few minutes with me again today. I know your time is valuable and I appreciate you checking these videos out. We're going to keep moving through the Schlossberg book, and this is number 16. And this addresses this little exercise and any variations that you may create on your own from it. Addresses one of the most challenging things in playing the instrument. For string players to play higher, they cross the strings and they move, closer to the bridge with their fingering. And wind players, of course, we brass players say, well, they have an octave key. Of course, there were other things involved, but changing range is not as big an issue, and it certainly isn't a big issue on keyboard instruments. And so the players of other instruments don't really understand what brass players have to do in order to change range, and many brass players don't understand either. So that's one reason why I'm making these videos, is to try and bring you some ideas and maybe some clarity, hopefully, on how we do this. So number 16 is a very, very simple, slow gesture. This is a lot like doing Tai Chi, that slow motion martial arts exercise. And you should think of it, when I was in China, I was seeing people do this early in the morning out by the lake, and it was just, it was beautiful. All the different styles, the individual expression that was coming through this practice. It made me very interested in it. I haven't actually taken it further, but it seems like that would be a very good form of exercise to me. But I've got this, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. It's very, very similar. So I'm going to play a little bit of 16 and then address some of the issues that most of you will encounter when you're playing this. And then it continues chromatically. I'll play a little bit more, but I want to point out some things for you to be drawing your attention to when you play this exercise. Now, obviously, you're just playing, you're playing a half step and then a minor third. So the intervals are not big, but the crescendo decrescendo here presents a different challenge. And the main challenge of this exercise is not only those individual gestures, but playing them one right after the other. Now you have a rest in there, and I actually like to practice these first without removing the mouthpiece. So I'll go ahead and play another one and see if I can do that for you this time. So you see, it's like I'm playing continuously. Now if I took that rest out, see, when I challenge myself to do something more difficult, now, I have almost a 2-octave slur at the end that I was trying to do there, with not enough air in my lungs, by the way. Then now that's the way I want to play all the time. I want to always be ready for the next thing that's going to happen. So So obviously that requires a fairly high degree of control. And there are many things that you can be improving. So let's look at a few. You want to try and keep the sound the same when you change dynamic. Now, that's not a rule. It's an exercise. It's a principle. You're trying to establish control. So if you go, then you kind of squeeze that note off. And I hear a lot of people playing soft like this. We're basically squeezing that sound off. You don't want to do that. And the best way I know to work on it is listen for the voice and keep the voice brilliant, focused, round, projecting, ringing, free, resonant, all the time. Now when you play softer, and sometimes when you play higher and lower, it's challenging to do that, but that it is what it is, right? So I'm squeezing, I'm a little tight. Wow, it takes control, and that's what you need to be a great player. What are you controlling? Sound, I mentioned. How about pitch? Now here's where we get into the big problem with this exercise. And this requires a lot of work, so be patient with it. It could take a very long time. And you're going to learn a whole lot in the process. What is one of the major problems that we run into in the orchestra is when we change range. We change from middle range to the upper range, or middle range to the lower range. Those three zones you might think of it as. Most people do not control their pitch level very well. They tend to go sharp in the upper register. You've probably heard the old phrase, lead players play sharp. That's because it's generally true. Why is that? Because they're squeezing, pressing, and pushing the air. And that drives the pitch up. In other words, they're losing the freedom of vibration in the lip and forcing the lip to vibrate. And everything in the body tends to get tight. Of course, you know, when you're playing that kind of music, you could be at the edges of what's possible for you to do physically, things that require a great deal of strength. And so when we use strength, it's easy to lose finesse. It's easy to lose this delicate kind of control. And that's one of the things I like about playing the trumpet, is it's a combination. It's a little bit like gymnastics, for example, where you have to have tremendous strength that's fully functional and delicately controlled, you know, with tremendous finesse, accuracy, precision. That's what's fun to me. Maybe that's not fun for you. If it's not fun, maybe you should find something else to do, because it kind of goes with the territory. Okay, so what am I talking about? Pitch. 3 different ranges: low register, middle register, high register. That's exactly what this is dealing with. So. So I could get choked, I could start using pressure, I could feel things going out of balance. When that happens, stop. Get loose again, play in the comfortable range. And I'll tell you right now, even the best professional players are challenged by this problem in trumpet playing. There's a tendency to have trouble playing in tune when you get out of the comfortable range, especially going sharp in the upper register. So what do we have here? To review, you want to keep the sound the same through a crescendo, decrescendo. Now we're changing notes. You could be doing this on a single note. But it's a great idea to practice that one aspect. Can you keep the tone and the pitch stable? Stable resonance that's in tune is a basic skill, and that's what we're doing here. And most people just don't pay too much attention to it. When I was young, I played a lot of stuff that was really hard. And I think one reason why I like to do that, besides the fact that I do like to challenge myself, is that it distracted me from the fact that I wasn't a very good trumpet player. I could do a lot of fancy stuff, but I couldn't do the simple stuff. And it took me many years to finally own the fact that I was not good at doing this kind of stuff. So I hope you don't spend as much time fooling yourself as I did. Quick story. Doug Yo, who's a friend and a former bass trombone player of the BSO, and now I think he's living in Arizona. He told me a story about when he was studying with Kleinhammer at Northwestern. And his first semester, he came in and he played the Bluebells of Scotland, which, as many of you know, is a cornet solo, right? And he played this on the bass trombone, and he played it really well. This is for his audition at Northwestern. The first semester, all he was allowed to play was scales. That's all he worked on, is scales. And this is very similar to what we're doing here in the Schlossberg. Why? Because it's like a proving ground. You can work on all these essential skills to develop them to a very high level. What did he play for his jury at the end of the semester? Scales. Isn't that great? I think it's wonderful. Because most of us are trying to play things that are way too hard, way too high, way too loud, way too strenuous, way too early. I certainly did. And pushing myself all the time, instead of realizing, oh, this is a sport that's about finesse, it's about accuracy, it's about polished coordination, not just force. So I hope you take this to heart when you're practicing these exercises and can find some enjoyment in doing them. The next exercise we're going to do is a little bit more forceful, and we'll run into another very common problem that trumpet players have when we look at that. That would be number 17, which was one of my favorite exercises when I was in school. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's just that I'm masochistic, but be that as it may. I hope that you get something out of it when we work on it next time. So take some time, really put these ideas into practice in your own work, and I think you're going to see results. All right, have a great day. Enjoy your practice. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.